Hi everybody, it's Dr. Kathy back with you, and thank you for tuning in. I have received so much great feedback from many of you about the 7 Deadly Sins video I did a couple of years ago, and I'm so glad it was helpful and that you were able to utilize that. I wanted to let you know I have updated it greatly. Every year I make updates to my materials, and as it turns out, every year I learn more, we learn more in the field, and so as that happens, I update things. So I want to share the newest thing with you, which is my do's and don't list. And this is what it looks like. You can access this on my website at drkathynickerson.com. And if you're on the home page, just scroll down until you find a link that says everything. If you click that link, it'll take you to all the materials I have. So whenever you're ready, check it out. This is the new do's and don'ts list, and I hope that it will help you. So let's talk about it a little bit. Basically what this is a listing of the things that we can do to make our relationships healthier and happier. It's also a list of the things we want to eliminate from our relationship. So I'll talk about a couple of them, and many of them are sort of self-explanatory, but I want you to know some specifics. So before I tell you about this, it's important for you to know that none of us is perfect. There is no perfect relationship, there is no perfect person. So if you're thinking, well, I'm going to follow this perfectly and we'll be perfect, I'd love to tell you that that could happen, but we just aren't perfect. So don't set yourself up for that kind of, disappointment. Instead, focus on making one change per week and kind of note the results. If you start doing more of one thing and get a really positive result, keep that one thing. You want to keep doing that. But if you find that you don't get any benefit out of it, then don't bother doing it. I don't want you to spend a lot of energy doing things that don't produce a good result for you. Now, the don't side are things we do really want to eliminate. So, actively look for these things that you might be doing and make a conscious effort not to do them. So, let's go through this, and I'll get it a little bit closer to you. Sorry, you see I'm not advanced in camera work, but hopefully this gives you a rough idea of what to look for. Okay, so looking at our do side, there's a couple things that are really self-explanatory. Soften up, be gentle and kind. We know that the tone you have when you're having a conversation with somebody really sets the tone for how that conversation is going to turn out. If you start in an angry, agitated way, you're going to end that way. So really make an effort to be soft and kind and gentle. All right, reassure your partner. This is so huge. This is a great thing to start with. Make sure to say things daily or as often as you can to tell your partner it's okay, I'm in this with you, I love you, you matter to me, you're important. Reassuring people helps them cope with stress and discomfort and disappointments. So if you screw something up during the week, it's not a problem. As long as you've reassured someone, they won't pay that much attention to the screw up, hopefully. All right, so continuing on the do side, be empathetic and compassionate. Everybody does things for a reason. Sometimes those reasons are hard to understand, but they're there. Look for them. Take responsibility for what you can. Oh, this is huge. Sometimes when we're in a fight in particular, we tend to be a little bit defensive. You really want to look at, out for this and not be defensive. If you've done something wrong, just admit it. That's the very best thing you can do. I'm really sorry. I completely forgot. I didn't load the dishwasher. I know you were counting on having that clean dish for the bake-a-thon. I'm sorry, and what can I do to make it up to you now? Goes a lot better than standing there and saying, no, I turned it on and I don't know why it didn't work. I'm being silly on purpose. But, take responsibility for when you've done something and disappointed someone else. We all do it. There's no shame in that. It's okay. All right. Another big do item is to try to see the other person's perspective. All right, as I've said, the people in your life are not, doing things for no reason. So really do try to see their perspective. Try to understand where they're coming from. People aren't going to listen to you if they don't feel like you get them and you get where they're coming from. So make a point to say, I see your point. I understand your perspective. I can see why you'd think that. Then go on and explain why you did something different. Okay. Along with that, validate people's feelings. Validate what your spouse is saying. If they're saying that they were hurt, don't tell them, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be hurt. All it was not loading the dishwasher. No. Because to them it meant something different than it meant to you. So acknowledge that. Just say, I'm really sorry that you were hurt. I would never mean to do that to you. And, you know, if I had been thinking clearly or if I wasn't distracted by the kids, I would have done it. I'm really sorry. Okay. Also, when you're having a conversation with somebody, ask for what you need to feel better. You know, if you need some reassurance, if you need some support, ask for that. If you want them to say that they're sorry, ask for that. It's really okay to ask for what you need during any kind of discussion. Another big do item is complain without blaming someone. It's okay for you to say, you know, I've got so much to do, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so exhausted. That's all fine. But if you blame the other person, they're going to immediately shut down. So blaming sounds like, I've got so much to do because you don't do a darn thing in this house and I'm left to do everything. That's really divisive language. Don't set yourself up for that failure. After all, you're complaining because you want help, right? So act in a way, talk in a way that will get you the help you want. Okay, next on the list. Stay with the here and now. This is really good. Sometimes when we fight, we tend to bring in everything in the kitchen sink. Nobody can be successful in an argument like that. So focus on one thing maybe and try to really stay focused on what's happening here and now. You may need to have conversations about things that have happened in the past, but set that up differently. Take one issue at a time and try to start with what's happening now. All right, some other good ideas. Take breaks, very important. Try to find a solution, also very important. Try to help your partner feel better. This is critical. We want your partner to feel good or at least somewhat supported during a discussion or a fight. If people are starting to feel too badly, they just shut down and go numb and they don't hear anything you say. So you've got to say some kind, complimentary, warm things during a fight to make the fight go well. And fights are important. We need to have fights now and again. I'm always worried about the couples that tell me that they never fight. So don't be afraid of fights. Just make a commitment to yourself and to your spouse that you're going to do them well. So along with this, say loving things during a fight, give some praise, reassure the other person, say, I love you, you know I'm on your team, but I just can't feel good about doing blah, 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 blah. That's okay. All right, another important do is to stop when you feel like you're losing control. We all get heated during, arguments and intense conversations. If you're feeling like you want to just explode and you're, an inch from telling them off and telling them what a terrible person they are, stop yourself. Nothing good is going to come from that. Just say, you know what? I need to take a break. This is getting really intense and I need to have a moment to just gear down. So feel free to excuse yourself when you need to. And if the other person says to you, well, I'm not finished talking yet, say, I know you aren't, and I want to hear what you have to say, but if I don't take a break now, the conversation's going to go in a very bad direction, and that's not going to be good for either one of us. So you can get yourself out of that situation by just acknowledging how they feel. All right, so now that pretty much covers all of the do's. Let's talk about the don'ts. The don'ts are often funny, because when I give this to most couples, they say, oh no, we're doing everything on the don't list. It's okay. A lot of people do a lot of things on the don't list. The important thing is that you become aware of it and you start to stop doing some of these things. Okay, so what's on the don't list? Don't attack. This means, don't be so harsh and negative and bitter and angry when you're presenting a problem. If you come across that way, the other person's going to immediately shut down. Don't insult them. Okay, so, don't call people names. Don't tell them they're an idiot. Don't say, well, I wouldn't expect you to figure that out with a sub-average IQ. Don't do that. What good is going to come from that? All right. Don't blame them. Don't judge them. Also, don't withdraw. Okay. So withdrawing just means that you stop interacting. You just kind of shut down and you go away. When you do that to somebody, it really makes them feel like they're not even important enough to you for you to bother responding. So that's a very hurtful thing to do. Try not to do that. If you are getting overwhelmed and you need to take a break, fine, say that. Just say, I'm getting overwhelmed, I need to take a break. I do want to come back and talk to you. I just can't do it right now. Don't criticize. Don't call names. don't call the other one crazy. This one is huge. Nothing makes people more upset than being told they're crazy. And most of us, candidly, aren't. Or if we are, we're all a little bit special in some ways. You know, we all have moments where it's hard to understand our behavior, and that doesn't make the behavior crazy. So I would eliminate that from your vocabulary. All right, be mindful about using profanity. It's not that you can't speak normally, and maybe you have a tendency to use a little bit more profanity than others. It's okay, you can speak normally, but just don't make it a profanity-filled tirade. That tends to shut people down also. We talked also earlier about being defensive. Really be on the lookout for that. You know, defensive is when you tend to defend your position and your behavior, and you stop listening to what the other person is saying. So don't defend immediately. Don't assume that you need to. If you hear something that is true and is valid, you can take responsibility for it and say, yeah, I know, I did come home late and I didn't call you, and I really am, I'm sorry that I did that. That wasn't very thoughtful. You know, a defensive answer to that is, well, what difference does it make? You don't call me and you're out all the time and da-da-da. That doesn't help. All right. So, we also want to avoid shutting down. We want to avoid character assassination. We also want to avoid playing games. A lot of people have the idea of, oh, well, he's not talking to me, so I won't talk to him, and then he'll see. Or, oh, he thinks he can control me with money, so I'm going to go to Nordstrom's and spend $10,000. Playing games never works, and when we make it into a game, we both end up losing, so don't do that to yourself. All right. We also don't want to make threats. Threats really, really upset people, and it's like throwing a bomb into the discussion. Try not to make threats. If you are at the end of a relationship and you are honestly saying, I think I'm coming to the end, I really need you to make a change, okay, that might be a time when you can say that. But again, it shouldn't come across as a threat. It shouldn't say, if you don't do this, I'm going to walk out the door tomorrow. People don't respond well to threats. All right. Similarly, they don't respond well to ultimatums. Ultimatums and threats really, really need to be used almost never. And if they are going to be used, we really have to talk about how to use them. Okay, so it probably goes without saying that you shouldn't yell, throw, or hit things. That tends to send things in a very bad direction. Don't threaten divorce. Don't bring up every problem you've ever had. Nobody can win against that. You know, nobody can defend themselves and explain and understand 47 different incidents. So pick one thing to talk about and make that the focus of the discussion. Also, don't bring in other people's opinions and other people's ideas into your fights. You know, nothing is more agitating than saying, well, you know, I was telling Susan about how you respond during our arguments, and she said da-da-da-da-da. That's going to make your spouse feel very, very judged, very isolated, and also kind of violated. You've shared something very private with this third party, and then it feels like you're ganging up on them. So don't do that. Also, don't walk away without saying you'll be back. That makes people feel very disregarded, dismissed, and very unimportant, and that's not how you want your spouse to feel. So I hope this helped you, and again, you can get this wonderful, very glamorous handout on my website. Just go to drkathynickerson.com, and on the home page, scroll down until you find the links, and on the bottom right-hand side of the links is one for everything. Click everything, and you'll find a list of different things, including this one, which is the Rules for Fighting Fair, also known as Dr. Kathy's Do and Don't List. Hope this helped, and I'll look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks.